So, in the UFC, there are many fighters who possess sinful characteristics which might help them or diminish their careers. And today I kind of want to look at the seven fighters which I'm going to pick, which would best represent each of the seven deadly sins according to Christian theology. And before we start, I just want to say not every fighter who I put in these spots is going to mean that I think that they themselves are a bad person or like an evil person. So I just want to get that out of the way. But before we start, please like, subscribe, it really helps out. And yeah, let's go. So the first, or rather, what I'm going to say is, what are the seven deadly sins? So most of you probably know. I'm going to kind of go through it in case some people don't know. So you have pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. Pride is like if you're big on yourself, you love yourself a lot. It can be good for you, be bad for you. Greed, if you're greedy, if you want money, fame, notoriety, all that kind of stuff, that can be bad. Wrath, like destruction, you're a destructive person, you only cause, bad things, just a destructive person, you're wrathful. Envy, you're envious, you're jealous, you're like a jealous of maybe something someone has or something someone does or can do, or just anything, you're jealous of anything. Lust, so you are overly desireful of sexual preferences, I guess you want to say, like people's bodies, women, all that stuff. Gluttony, if you love to eat, you love to eat food you can't control yourself, you get really fat, and it can be bad for you. And the last one's sloth. So sloth, laziness, it's kind of in the name. It's like the animal. Animals. The sloth is slow, lazy. It's very tight. The way it moves is very laboured. That's kind of what it kind of means. So if you're lazy, if you don't do much, so there's that. So that's all that out of the way. And the first category is pride. And for pride, I have put Hamzat Chimaev. We all know Hamzat Chimaev has kind of built his career on, this being this scary kind of guy. He's undefeated and he's won a belt. As much as maybe you want to criticize him being so big on himself, it has worked. It has led him to a championship. He worked his way through up welterweight, then he moved up to middleweight and he won. He won the belt. He is the champion, and we all know the post fight press conferences, post fight interviews with, or even pre fight interviews with Hamzat Chimaev, where he's like, I kill everyone, brother, and he's screaming Allahu Akbar in the crowd, and it's like, what's going on? And something about to blow up, and that happens, and he's very intimidating guy because he thinks he can't lose, and he's not lost yet. And we'll see if he does lose sometime soon. Probably not. I'm not willing to think he does. Especially at middleweight, everyone's like a striker at middleweight, apart from like two guys, but we don't even know if that's gonna happen. So yeah, he's very prideful, very up on himself, and it's good to see because it is very entertaining when he's always screaming and stuff. So it might be sinful, but it is fun to watch. The next one, greed. I have put Alex Volkanovski, and the reason I put Alex Volkanovski in greed is because his greed for two belts, I guess you could say, his greed for being the best. So here we have him with the two belts, and this was before the first, what was it, the first Makachev fight, very close fight. You can argue who won, who lost. Like, you can see both sides. Makachev won or Volkanovski won. Ultimately, Makachev won. That was the outcome. And then, but kind of Volkanovski was still quite big because he just moved up to lightweight and he just put it on the champion and he arguably won. Then he fought Yair Rodriguez that same summer, and he won. He was like as big as ever. And then everyone was calling for a Volk Makachev rematch, which would maybe set up like maybe the year after or something like that. However, Makachev was supposed to fight Oliveira in a rematch, and Oliveira pulled out on 11 days' notice. And up steps Volk off the couch. He was not training for anything. There was no fight camp coming up or in a fight camp for a fight coming up. And he stepped off the couch. No, it's a very famous phrase that Volkanovski said before the fight, or rather after the fight. And because he just wanted to fight. Volkanovski's whole thing was that he wanted to just fight. He likes fighting, so he did this on 11 days' notice, and infamously he lost. He lost by head kick, in the first round. It was a head kick followed up by ground and pound shots, and he got knocked out cold. And then after that, which like that wasn't even the worst of it, he then 4 months later fought the most dangerous striker ever at featherweight, like guy with nukes in his hands. He fought Topuria. Fought Topuria. So the Makachev rematch was October 2023. He fought Topuria for the featherweight title in, I think it was February 2024. And he did well in the first round, and in the second round he got knocked out cold. And we all know how that video goes. Everyone jokes that it's AI, and whenever the UFC post it on their Instagram page, everyone's like, "That's AI. AI is getting really good now. You know, ChatGPT, it's really good now." So, so there's that. And yeah, why I put him in greed is because basically he tried to be too good. He was trying to be too good for his own good, if that makes sense. He obviously tried the first Makachev fight. He lost, but it was arguably you could say that he won. Like it was a very close fight. But then he really wanted it back. So then he just doesn't matter. He would have done it on 5 days' notice if he could. On 11 days' notice, he fought Makachev, tried to get the belt again, tried to get the win back, and he didn't. And then he just wanted to fight again. 4 months later, after getting knocked out, he fought Topuria, who's like it was kind of asking to get knocked out. Like I'm pretty sure like everyone was just thinking Volkanovski's gonna get knocked out because he's just got knocked out like 4 months prior. He's had like no rest. He's right into like another training camp, and it's against Topuria. So yeah, he was too greedy for another belt, or too greedy to keep his what would you say, keep his position as one of the best up, that he had to fulfill it, and it ended up stagnating his career for like 2 years on like a losing streak. Anyway, that's why I put Volkanovski in greed. The next one, Wrath. I think we're all gonna know who I put here. This one, there's this one, and then there's another one I'm gonna say later, which is like it's kind of like you know who I'm gonna put. So for this one, it is John Jones, and we all know John Jones throughout his career. It has been littered with crimes and uh, not corruption. I'd say crimes and what's the word I'm thinking of? Controversy, crimes and controversy. So I've included a couple photos here, uh, and this isn't even a small part of it. There's so much more, or it's rather, this isn't even most of it. This is a tiny part of the kind of pictures you can find of John Jones doing some sort of thing, getting himself in trouble. I could name like a bunch of others, but I'm gonna go through these ones and then maybe I'll try and name some others. So this one was when John Jones hit a pregnant woman's car with his car and then fled the scene. This was a body cam footage of him later getting arrested or stopped by a police officer and being questioned, and then which led to his arrest. And this one was, I think that, or before I say that, this one was in like 2016, I think it was. This one was in 2021. It was after John Jones attended the UFC honors ceremony uh, with his wife and kids, and then he won an award. He won an award for like best fighter or something like that, or some philanthropy thing. I can't remember exactly what it was. And later that night, when they went back to the hotel, the police got a call saying that John Jones had assaulted his wife and her nose was all bloody in their bedroom, in their hotel room. And John Jones done that and then fled the hotel. And this is more body cam footage from later that night when the police tracked him down. He was very drunk, I'll say that. He was very drunk, and he was like hitting his head in the footage. You can find it on YouTube. He was hitting his head against the police car and screaming a bunch of stuff. And yeah, so that was 2021, and then this was obviously when he beat Daniel Cormier, and it turns out he was on steroids. He was on PEDs, and his win was stripped from him. The belt was stripped from him, and the win was overturned to a no contest. And it's kind of reflected on how people maybe perceive Daniel Cormier's career, because he, even though he got double champ, he was always in Jones's shadow because he always had those. He had the first loss, obviously, and then he had the second loss, I guess you could say, but now no contest. But it's like he never got that fair shot against Jones in the rematch. So people think, Daniel Cormier's total career, I don't know, it's just his career has been kind of overshadowed by John Jones. And then there's other stuff, don't like there's John Jones bragging about his use of cocaine before fighting, like he's the coke addict. There's that video of him running with a shotgun. Like, there's obviously that wasn't really like a bad thing. That was like him. Someone was trying to steal his car or something like that in his driveway. And there's that video of John Jones holding a shotgun, like running across his driveway. There's like a bunch of other stuff. It's the Aspinall. He like was holding up Aspinall's career when he was the champ. Aspinall was interim champ. Which only got kind of resolved recently, but he was holding up Aspinall's career for like what 2 years, I think, close to 2 years, because he wouldn't fight Aspinall, even though Aspinall was his interim champion and John Jones was the undisputed champion, the first ever disputed champion in UFC history, because he wouldn't fight his interim champ. So yeah, that's why I put John Jones in Wrath, because he is Wrath, he is destruction, he destroys everything that he touches with or without his own intention of doing so. So that's all I'll say about that. Next one, Envy. And Envy, I have put Alex Pereira. And I put Alex Pereira in Envy not because of any bad reasons, but actually because it has majorly benefited him throughout his career. Alex Pereira was a kickboxer, and 10 years ago, and or even what? Sorry, 5 years ago, even he was a kickboxer, and he had fought Israel Adesanya in kickboxing twice, and he beat Adesanya twice. One of them was a bit more controversial of a decision, but the first time it was or the second time rather, it was a clean knockout. The first fight was like a controversial decision. And when Adesanya then went on the come up in the UFC, there was this kind of infamous video where I can't talk, where Israel Adesanya had said that, oh, Alex Pereira's the guy at the bar, saying that, oh, I fought Israel Adesanya one time, and like it was like a fabricated story, but he's just saying that Alex Pereira's claim to fame back then was that he beat Adesanya, because Adesanya was then this like big star, he's the UFC champion, and that's all Alex Pereira could claim, that he beat him one time in kickboxing, and that's where this photo comes here from. Well, it's like this is an edited photo of the result of this, because when Alex Pereira made his come up to kind of track down Israel Adesanya in the UFC, he worked his way through middleweight, and then he beat Adesanya for the middleweight belt. And yeah, that was like his whole story. It was this big thing, and then someone made this photo. I've seen this photo like countless times, saying that uh, Adesanya was is now it's now Adesanya saying that, because Pereira became the star that Adesanya couldn't reach. He was a star, but he couldn't reach the heights of Pereira. Pereira is probably like currently the most famous active UFC fighter, I'd say, other than maybe Topuria. And so he was jealous of, I guess you could say, he was jealous of Adesanya. He tracked him down and he beat him. And then even more recently, when he lost to Ankalaev, he just couldn't let him get away. He had to get that one back, and he beat him in like what, a minute and a half, 2 minutes that fight was. And yeah, it was like his envy of his losses or his past opponents have made him bigger, made him greater by stepping up to the occasion, I guess you could say. So that's why I put Alex Pereira in envy. The next one, Lust, and this is the other one where I think you might know who I'm going to put. So it will be, or rather, I have put McGregor. I have put Conor McGregor in Lust. I've got more photos here. You can probably think of like a bazillion others, a million other photos of McGregor. But basically, throughout McGregor's career, since 2013, or rather maybe since 2016, I'd say, 2016, 2017, when he was at the peak of his fame, peak of his fighting career, peak of his ability, Conor McGregor, or rather since then, Conor McGregor has, same with John Jones, his career has been littered with controversial things that he has done. And in McGregor's case, it is cheating on his fiance. His fiance, however you want to say it, Dee Devlin, or rather ex-fiance, they got married like 2 days ago, so good for them. Uh, he would like cheat on his fiance like multiple, like it felt like every 6 months you'd find like a new McGregor picture of him with like some random woman in some like weird location. And yeah, there's been more than a handful of them. So This bottom one is from like 2017. I think this is like 2017 McGregor, and there's this woman who claiming that her kid was McGregor's, but it wasn't. It was like they would have done a DNA test, and it turns out it wasn't McGregor's. She was just wanting money, I guess. This one's kind of more recent. It's McGregor with this, I don't know, Latina woman or Latin woman or whatever you want to say, South American. I have no idea who she is. This was just a photo that came out one day. Some paparazzi found it, and that was that. And then this is from the this photo was from the court case. The McGregor had a court case where a woman was suing him for grape. I guess got to keep it family friendly. Grape. He was sued for that, and he actually lost. He had to pay the woman like I can't remember how much it was. It was like a decent sum of money. It was a lot of money. And then this one, if you remember this one, it was quite recent, and I think it was June or July, the summer of this year. Conor McGregor DM'd this famous singer. I think it was her name's like Azealia Banks or something like that. He DM'd her, and like this photo, this is obviously cut off at the midway point, but it's Conor McGregor completely naked, and he's got a weightlifting dumbbell strapped to something. And I'm gonna let you fill in the blank there, but that's what he sent, and she leaked it. Obviously, she was like, "What the hell was McGregor doing in my DMs, acting like this?" And she leaked the photo, and it was like the best day on Twitter ever. It was the best thing. It was actually. If you didn't see that, I feel bad for you because that was amazing. But not the picture itself. We don't want to see the picture. We just want to. It was the reaction to the picture online. But McGregor has. He kind of makes you think. It's like I think because he has so much money that Dee Devlin, his fiance, is kind of turning a blind eye to this. She's just like, yeah, he can kind of do his thing. You know, I'm here. I'm like his main wife. I'm his wife, but he can go have his fun with other women. But and she kind of doesn't really care because he's so rich. I guess you could. That's kind of the assumption that most people would come to in this case. So yeah, but that's why I have put McGregor in lust. So the next one is gluttony. I have put Paddy Pimblett. So this one's more of like a kind of a fun one. Paddy Pimblett is that the joke about him is that he eats a lot during fight camp, or rather out of fight camps. During fight camps, he's quite disciplined. Out of fight camps, he balloons up. He inflates in size. He gets fat, and you know there's photos, a lot of photos of Paddy Pimblett eating. This was at a post-fight press conference a couple of years ago. He's eating pizza right after his fight because he's just said, and he said in an interview like, "Oh, I'm trying to get fat and stuff like that." He's he's eating an ice cream and he looks a bit chubby here. And then these photos, like you can see in his face compared to the actual like fighter pic, his face, like this would have been taken during the week of before a fight. So he's all weight drained, he's getting really thin, and this is him out with camp. You can see the difference in his face, and it's like crazy. It's like he just gets so big, like under here, and swells up around his cheeks. And he's not too bad with it now. Now it's fine. I think as he's kind of gotten, you know, he's gradually worked his way up through the UFC, got more money and contracts and stuff like that. He maybe has been able to hire a better nutritionist who's able to keep his weight down, and it's so he's not having to make as much of a cut, or maybe just out with fight camp. Maybe he's just got just a constant nutritionist taking care of him. But I remember when you used to see Paddy Pimblett, it'd be like every couple of months you'd see a picture of him out with training camp, and it'd be him just ballooned up, and it'd be like really funny. There's that photo of Paddy Pimblett that's edited, where it's him, you know, with like the big like head and stuff like that, and it's like it's kind of like a metaphor for just him eating. Like it's obviously a bit someone's what a parody, but it is kind of true at the same time. But he's fine now. He's not as bad anymore. But that's why I've put Paddy Pimblett in gluttony. So next one and the final one is sloth, and I have put Colby Covington. And I don't need any photos for this. I just need one, and it's his recent activities, fight streak, I guess you could say. And this goes back 5 years, so it goes back to 2020. And the problem with Covington's career is that he like has barely ever fought. Especially, he's fought 5 times in the last 5 years, and he's missed whole years. He missed 2020. What was it? 20, oh, he hasn't missed any years. Well, he missed this year. He did not fight in 2025, but he like fought once a year, and there was like a almost 2 year gap between one of the fights as well because he was like the start of one year, the very end of like the next year. or rather the start of one or the end of one year, and then quickly went to the start of the next year. So it was like a 2 year gap between one of them. And basically, throughout Covington's career, he has, just not fought very much. And that's going to come from the fact that he tries to sell himself as this big character. He has to pick the perfect fight because he's not got the best fight style, and welterweight is quite a dangerous division. So Colby Covington has to really cherry pick his fights, and that might take a lot of time. So in 2020, he fought Woodley, or rather before that, he fought Usman for the belt the first time, lost. Then COVID happened, he fought Woodley. I guess you could excuse the time out for that. He fought Woodley, won, and then waited from September 2020 to November 2021, a whole, what, year and 2 months? Year and 2 months. He fought Usman again, and he lost. It was a close fight. It was actually, you could argue it was a draw in the fight, but he lost. And then this was when he'd done that quick turnaround about 4 months after he fought Masvidal in March 2022. He beat Masvidal, who I think was like number 3 ranked at the time, so he kind of held this top spot. Covington did. And then he waited, what, a year and a half for a title shot. And the reason he got that title shot, which everyone was like outraged about because he just got a title shot out of nowhere, seemed like he had Dana White's secret pictures of Dana White, which he was using as blackmail so he could get a title shot. That's what everyone was thinking. That's what it seemed like. But the reason he got the title shot was because when Leon Edwards fought Kamaru Usman for the third time when they fought in London, Colby Covington weighed in as the backup fighter. So, and usually when the backup fighter weighs in, they're kind of next in line for the shot because they've been there. They've ensured that the main event somewhere or another is going to continue because they've had to drain their weight, and just in case one person pulls out like a day before or on the day of the fight. So I guess Dana White like kind of been like, right, you've done us a favor, we'll give you a title shot next time, right? And then he fought Leon Edwards in December 2023. It was a boring fight. He got taken down a bunch and he lost. And yeah, it was not a good fight. And then he waited an entire year and then fought Buckley and lost because of a doctor stoppage because he got a cut on his eye. And I used to love Colby Covington. Like he was like, he big personality, and I wish he just fought more, but he just never fought because he would try and cherry pick opponents, and it was the most frustrating thing ever because you'd love like you'd always love to see a Colby Covington press conference, before a fight. It was like really entertaining. Like I remember the Usman 2 one. That was like one of the best ones they've ever done, and I miss it. But he is slothful, he is lazy with his activity, and I wish he wasn't, but unfortunately that was the case with Covington. You never see Covington again. The only time you ever seen Covington is when he's like popped up every like year or 6 months at like some celebrity poker because he's like a poker player now or whatever. He's been a poker player for the last like 4 years. So maybe he's making his money off of that. Maybe he's made all enough money from the UFC that he doesn't need to fight anymore. I expect that he's going to retire somewhat soon because there's no announcement of him fighting soon or anything like that. So I'd love to see him again, but I guess we'll need to wait. Probably not, if I was to guess. But yeah, that's the list. If you disagree, tell me in the comments who you think I should have put in whatever category, whatever sin you disagree with. And please like, subscribe, it really helps out. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.